Aliens. They're a concept that has fascinated many amongst the human race for decades. Aliens are essentially life that has origins on other worlds, ranging in distance from other planets in our solar system to places on the other side of the universe. In order to get from there to here, they had to have traveled in what we have come to know as unidentified flying objects, or UFOs for short. These aliens and their almost magical flying machines have become almost idolized by people across the globe. Perhaps even more interesting is that we've already encountered them. Or did we? The idea that aliens have already visited us is perhaps one of the most common conspiracy theories ever conceived. There is a plethora of information that believers and non-believers of the theory will deliberate over for hours. From Heaven's Gate to the Interplanetary Phenomenon Unit, there is so much alleged evidence and so many theories on the subject that attempting to cover it all in this video will drag on too long. As such, the topic of this video will involve the United States government's role in the coverage and censorship of one famous instance that is purported to confirm that contact with aliens has already been established. The Roswell Incident. William Brazel was an ordinary rancher working on the Foster Ranch in Lincoln County, New Mexico. The summer of 1947 had only begun a week prior, and Brazel had just begun his work for the day. It was at this point that he discovered debris of an unknown origin. The debris primarily consisted of what appeared to be tinfoil, paper, and rubber. Brazel sought out the aid of law enforcement to confiscate the material, delivering a piece of it to the local sheriff to determine the next course of action. It was at this point that Sheriff George Wilcox called Colonel William Blanchard, who then sent a team to bring the unidentified debris to the Roswell Army Airfield. One day later, a statement was released by the airfield saying that they had recovered a UFO. The day after that, however, they said they had found a broken-up weather balloon. Conspiracy theories took this discrepancy and held it under scrutiny for the next 30 years, during which time major sci-fi franchises like Star Wars and Star Trek soared in popularity. Then, in the 1980s, a UFO researcher by the name of Stanton Friedman began investigating the incident and the change in the government's stance on the matter. This research also served as the catalyst for a series of additional investigations from various other groups, which is when the UFO conspiracy began to truly reach the levels of fame that we know them to have today. It was also during this period that rumors surfaced that a nurse working on the Roswell airfield had seen 3 alien bodies being transported across the facility, though these rumors cannot be confirmed. It was only by the year 1994 that the government readdressed the Roswell incident. They released a report that would leave a lasting impression on not only the conspiracy theorists and UFO researchers, but also on the American public as a whole. The debris recovered wasn't a weather balloon. In fact, it never was. Now, the report would go on to indicate that the debris was actually from a spy device used in a secret Russian intelligence gathering plan called Project Mogul, but that was not what anyone focused on. The government had just told every American that they had been lied to. If they had lied about this, what else could they have lied about? This explanation also brings up yet another discrepancy, as pointed out by Donald Schmitt. During the late 1940s, the Roswell Army Airfield was used for further testing of atomic bombs following World War II. Making any form of public display or statement, let alone that which would garner front page of the newspaper level attention, would threaten the security of the tests. Drawing the attention of so many people the way they did would have been an incredibly reckless lie to tell, especially since the base wasn't attracting much attention to begin with. But the question remains, did aliens actually land here? Are UFOs actually on Earth? Ultimately, the general public has no definitive proof as to whether or not aliens are or have been among us. It is entirely up to every individual to decide whether or not to trust the word of the United States government, which is understandably difficult to do considering they have admitted to lying in reference to this topic specifically. Personally, I find it best to refer to the equation developed by Dr. Franklin Drake. Taking into account every natural stellar process of the universe, the amount of time it takes for life to form, the likelihood of life ever becoming a civilization, that civilization ever becoming advanced enough to make its presence known in the universe, and its ability to traverse said universe. The answer is quite clear. We simply do not know. And we may not know for centuries. It is absolutely impossible to determine whether or not aliens exist, let alone if they have visited us. These aliens would need to learn to travel faster than light to reach us, meaning they would also need to be magnitudes ahead of the human race from a technological standpoint. Even then, if they are advanced enough to reach us, it is reasonable to assume that these aliens have also mastered the capability of masking themselves from our vision. If these parameters are both true, we may never know if they have visited us unless they formally reveal themselves. Though, given the events which have transpired over the past year alone, I sincerely doubt they will ever do such a thing.